All right, today we're diving into what feels like a mythic journey, really a deep look into the soul. Think of it as a parable, a story about the huge choices we all face when the walls we've built around ourselves start to shake. And this story kicks off with a character leaving their entire world behind. So, our story starts with a figure we all think we know, the knight. But, and this is key, he isn't riding into a battle, he's riding away from one. And it's not a castle of stone he's leaving, but a psychological prison, a gilded cage he helped build himself out of social status, dogma, and the crushing weight of expectation. He's literally leaving behind everything he thought made him who he was. And that brings us to Act 1, the gilded cage. Because, you see, to really get where this knight is going, we first have to understand the prison he's so desperately trying to escape. Okay, so this fortress has a name, the Architecture of Pride. And it's actually a pretty brilliant defense mechanism if you think about it. We build it out of our job titles, our beliefs, our social circles, really anything to give us a sense of safety and importance. But what I find so fascinating here is the phrase mausoleum of stasis. It looks like a castle protecting you, but it's really a tomb where your true, vital self gets buried alive. So what's holding this whole prison together? Well, it's anchored by something called the spirit of gravity. This is that heavy, leaden feeling of all the shoulds and oughts in life. That constant pressure to conform, to just play it safe. The source material puts it perfectly. We start mistaking an institutional leash for a golden chain of authority. We fool ourselves into thinking we're in charge, but in reality, we're just being weighed down, kept from ever being truly awake. So, let's jump into Act 2 and see what happens when our knight finally makes a break for it. He rides out of that stone fortress and straight into the Sovereign Woods. And this is where everything changes. The knight enters what the sources call the verdant absurdity. Now, this isn't just some picturesque forest. No, it's a living, breathing force. It's absurd because it operates on a logic that is completely alien to human society. It couldn't care less about the knight's titles, his honor, or his carefully constructed beliefs. This raw, primordial landscape is a force of superhuman vitality, and it has one job: to absolutely shatter the ego. So, how does it do it? Well, the verdant absurdity wields these three powerful, almost sensory instruments. First up is the uncanny mirror. The forest doesn't reflect a noble hero, it reflects the accumulated rot, all the ugly, suppressed truths he's been hiding from. Then there's the honest sound. The rhythmic thud of the earth's breath is so real, so powerful, it just drowns out all his memorized prayers and dogmas. And finally, the logic of zero. This is the crushing realization that in the grand scheme of the universe, a king's decree means absolutely nothing more than a single rustling leaf. His entire identity just evaporates. And the result of all this is what the sources call a liquefaction of the soul. I mean, what a phrase, right? Everything that was solid in the knight's world has just melted away. His armor of pride is gone, all the old meanings have been burned to ash in a tribunal of ash, and he's left totally exposed, walking a fragile rope over this vast, terrifying abyss of meaninglessness. And it's right here, in this critical, terrifying moment, that two figures seem to emerge from the mist, offering two profoundly different ways forward. There's the path of the ascetic, the one who denies the world. And then there's the path of the hero, the one who affirms it. This is the central choice of our entire story. Which way will he go? And this table just lays out the two choices so brilliantly. The contrast here is everything. On one side, you have the ascetic grail seeker, and he's driven by that same old spirit of gravity, that heavy weight from the gilded cage, just in a different costume. He's a backworldsman, always looking past this life for some distant heaven. His morality is all about thou shalt, a list of rules given to him. But the pagan knight? He embraces the spirit of becoming, a light, flowing, creative force. He finds the divine right here, in the meaning of the earth. His morality isn't given to him. It's a powerful I will. He becomes a creator of his own values. One path is a pale shroud of meekness. The other is the lived fire of the veins. So, having stared into that abyss and faced this choice, our knight finally makes his decision. And this brings us to our final act, the holy yea. He chooses the path of the creator. He completely rejects the morality of the herd, the morality of those backworldsmen who preach denial. He throws off the chains of thou shalt that were forced on him and instead declares a sacred I will.
he decides he's not just going to follow the map anymore, he's going to draw his own.
But this isn't just some simple choice. It's a deep, profound alchemy of the soul. First, he has to confront his shadow, that ugliest man he saw in the uncanny mirror. Then, and this is crucial, he doesn't destroy it. He enters into a mystical marriage, uniting his orderly self with his chaotic, wild depths. From that union, he learns how to turn the poison of his own suffering into fuel for a creative dance. And finally, he utters the holy yay, a radical, unconditional yes to all of existence, the good, the bad, all of it. This ultimate state has a name, amor fati, the love of one's fate. And it's not about just passively accepting things. It's about a joyful embrace of your entire story. The imagery here is just stunning. Wild lilies blooming in the mud of the abyss. It means that from our deepest pain, from our darkest places, can grow our greatest strength and our most profound beauty. And in doing all this, the knight is completely reborn. He's not just a knight anymore. He becomes an architect of meaning. He finally understands that the true treasure was never some holy grail out there in the world, but something found right here, in the courageous act of writing his own story, of creating his own meaning. This whole journey brings us to one last crucial revelation, a simple truth about the very cage our knight ran from in the first place. You see, the great secret is this. The gilded cage was never locked. The door was wide open the whole time. He was only held captive by that spirit of gravity, by his own fear and his own need for safety. And that, of course, turns this entire mythic story into a very personal question for you, for all of us. What's your gilded cage? And what superhuman vitality? What wild lilies might be waiting for you in your own sovereign woods?